Hi, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Indira, and today I'm joined by the newly crowned under 20 European and British 3,000 metre record holder, as well as double European cross country champion, Innes FitzGerald. Innes is a phenomenal talent, but what's more incredible and also gives hope for the sport is the fact that she's managed to sustain and build upon her success. In this episode, we catch up with her on all things the past few months, her transition to uni, where it all started, and how things have changed and evolved over time. We also talk more generally about how she sees herself and what running's meant to her as an individual. Lots to learn from and take away in this episode. And also be sure to check out past episodes with Innes if you're interested in some of her past journey. We've got a couple on the podcast already. It was really great catching up with Innes, and it's great to see how much she's progressed as both an athlete and individual, including when we first spoke back in 2022, which was a lot closer to the start of her running journey. Innes will be competing in the 3,000 metres indoors this week. So by the time this episode's come out, hopefully it's all gone well for her. Okay, as always, if you've been enjoying the podcast, please be sure to give it a rating as it helps give credibility to the podcast so I can keep bringing you guys the guests you want to hear from. Okay, let's get into the episode. Hi, Innes, how are you? And a warm welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm good. Just preparing, getting myself ready. I leave tomorrow for the European indoors. So yeah, just last bits of preparation, trying not to forget anything. So yeah, it's been a busy day, but good fun.
Gosh, yeah. Well, thank you for making the time this evening. And yeah, I can only imagine, on top of uni and everything. And how's the prep gone so far?
Yeah, I mean training's going well, and then just balancing that around, yeah, doing my studies and getting those that done as well. I've got a few bits of coursework during the next couple of weeks. So yeah, just balancing the two. But it's nice to have something else to do on the side alongside running, filling my time.
Yeah, definitely. It can be nice to have a balance. And for sure, I think it is a challenging time when you've got kind of the workload from uni and, competing at the level you're competing at. And obviously, you're competing at the senior indoor European championships over the 3,000 meters, which is, an incredible achievement. Do you want to just walk us all through kind of how this has come about and whether you were expecting it?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a bit of a strange one. I think I came into the winter with my eyes set on the European cross, and that was really good. I managed to defend my title there, which I was so pleased about. But that was before Christmas, and then I had a couple weeks kind of downtime over Christmas, and then in the new year we were kind of thinking, oh well, just mix up a bit, have a bit of fun, do a bit more cross, and then a few indoor races. And then yeah, I kind of started doing a couple indoor races and was really enjoying it. And I was like, oh well, let's just see how far this can go. I feel like I'd kind of done enough like work on the grass for the winter. I didn't really want to be doing grass sessions as much. So I was leaning towards the indoors. And then yeah, I managed to kind of surprise myself a little bit. I knew training was going well. But yeah, you're never really sure how like times on the outdoor track will translate to indoors. And but yeah, I managed to run the European time and then get selected, which was pretty much a dream come true and definitely exceeded all my expectations that I had for this winter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's gone off to a cracking start and it really is phenomenal, what you've achieved. And we'll definitely get into the kind of details of it a little bit later on. But let's just start things off. First things first, how would you now introduce yourself as an athlete?
Oh, that's always a difficult one. For me, I still feel I wouldn't say a hobby jogger, but I do still feel like I'm just a runner and like I'm a student. I don't know. I don't feel like running's my full identity yet. So I wouldn't say that when I describe myself, I describe myself as a runner. I feel like I'm a more rounded person. And I think that's something that I definitely want to carry like throughout my life. Like as much as running can consume me at some points, I don't want it to consume my whole kind of career as such.
Yeah, no, that's really great to hear. And also really interesting, at this point with, multiple European titles, European records, top world rankings, that's how you feel. But I think by the sounds of it, it is a very positive approach. And I guess then as well, for you, what are three things that you value for kind of fostering a successful and happy environment slash life for yourself?
Oh, okay. I think patience is one. Whatever you do, it's going to take time, and there's no point in rushing into something because you either won't be pleased with the outcome, or it will come at a cost, and you'll end up either being injured or things won't go the way you want. Balance definitely is another one. I think it's so important as athletes that we have other things to do in our spare time and other things to focus on. And athletics is not just our whole personality, so I think that's really important. What else? Like gratitude, being grateful for the opportunities that we have as athletes, and also for just having the privilege to be in a position where we can like run and compete and have opportunities like that, whereas there's so many people in the world that aren't able to do that because they're like caring for other people, or they've just got to like try to feed themselves rather than having opportunities to compete and play sports, which is a privilege that we often forget about.
No, I love that. Patience, balance, and gratitude. And patience and balance are definitely ones that crop up time and time again. But gratitude, I think it's great that you touch on that, because I think it's not so often spoken about, but it is so important to kind of, I guess, acknowledge, the opportunities that you get. And I guess just to kind of follow up a bit on some of what you said in terms of patience and balance in particular, is there anything that has kind of led you to have those realizations, or a specific learning moment, or is that kind of just from your general life experience so far?
Yeah, I think being working with Gavin and Joe Pavey as my coaches, they've kind of drilled into me like we're here for in it for the long game. Nothing's gonna, if success happens now, that's a bonus, but we've got bigger things to aim for. And you've got to be patient and just wait for those experiences and things to happen in the future. I'm still pretty young, and where I want to go with my career is going to take time, and it's going to be years before I'm at my best. So just being patient and biding my time, just getting the training done now ready for those years ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a great mindset to have. And how does it feel then, having the success and achievement that you have now, but knowing that, that's not your full potential just yet?
Yeah, I think I'm so pleased with how I've been progressing, but I'm never going to take any of that for granted. You never know with running, things can change within an instant, and I'm glad and pleased that I'm in a healthy place now. But yeah, I'm excited to see what's to come in the future, and to know that there's so much more I can be doing to get me into a better place. I'm just so excited and ready for what's to come.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And you say in a healthy place now, is that just a kind of generic, or does that indicate maybe in the past you weren't in the place that you're in currently?
No, I think I've always been um I've always been in a healthy place. It's just like there's so many athletes out there who aren't, and it's just like to know that I can do this and I am healthy. It just gives me hope that there's so much more to come in the future.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's so great. And it's so great to kind of see someone of your level of talent have that support around them, and be kind of on a, I guess, prosperous journey, or one that's hopefully not going to get derailed, as kind of has been seen a lot in the past. And for you, what's the number one piece of advice that you've received, and why?
I don't know who said it to me, but someone said, just be better than you were yesterday. And that's something that I take with me all the time. Like there's always people who are like, oh, what do you aspire to do? What do you aspire to be like? And I always say, just be better than I was yesterday. And I think that's something that I tell anyone, whether they're just starting out in running or like having like still running really well. It's just about just being better than you were yesterday, whether your aspirations are crazy. I think it's important just to take one day at a time, and even smaller than that, like people can be struggling in all areas of life, but if you just take it one day or one step at a time, it feels so much more manageable, and you can get to your goals so much more easily.
Yeah. No, that's great to hear. Absolutely. Yeah, just trying to be one bit better than you were yesterday. And I think there's a lot of research that backs up that it's aiming for small changes over a long period of time that actually lead to success, as opposed to trying to make drastic changes all of a sudden. And for you then, I guess in that respect, how do you rationalize, say, with running, if you have a bad session and the times are like, okay, yes, this is worse than what I was yesterday or in the past?
Yeah, I think my coach is never negative about things, but when he says, "Oh, the session was all right," I know it wasn't great. If I get the all right, it's a bit, oh, okay. Um, and I think, but it's just like knowing that not every session is going to be amazing. Not every run you're going to feel great. And I think, yeah, just being able to like remind yourself that as long as 1 in 4 sessions are good, then it's fine. Like if you're getting consecutive like months of bad sessions, you might want to think about maybe something in your health isn't right or something's up. But I think reminding yourself that not every session is going to be great, and you haven't lost any fitness if you have a bad session. There might be other factors if you're working hard. Like I can end up studying uni work all day and I get to the session and I'm just a bit out of it. Like my brain's just a bit fried, and it's not like I'm physically unable to do it. I'm just mentally not quite there. And then sessions can be bad, but yeah, that's not going to dictate my performance in races or in the like my overall fitness. So it's just not getting too stressed when things aren't going quite right.
Yeah, some very wise words there for sure. And yeah, as long as you're having one good session every 1 in 4 or every so many, then yeah, absolutely you can keep feeling good about things. And you touch on the mental there, and that's something that I think increasingly a lot of athletes are talking about, it being very important and that being something they value a lot. For you, where's that line between kind of physical and mental?
Oh, it's not something I thought about that much. Yeah, I always hear athletes talking about it. I think for me, it's probably 50-50, which is probably quite a lot of people say it's a lot more mental. But I think that if you're not physically there, then you won't have the mental confidence in the first place. So I think, yeah, for me, if I know that I'm there, then mentally I'm in a much more better place. So yeah, I think 50-50.
Yeah, no, I very much like that answer, and yeah, at the end of the day, it is quite a physical nature of a sport, so it would probably be needed. And for you, is there any particular session or something that you look for in yourself or your performance when you're able to say, okay, yes, I've got the confidence that my body's ready, or I've got the fitness to perform well?
Yeah, I think there are sessions I can do when I can run good times, but I don't feel that great, or like I'm working quite hard, but it's about getting to the session, running solid times, but feeling really good doing it. And I think that's when I get that confidence boost that I'm in a good place. Um, and that's why I think face-to-face sessions with my coaches is so important, because when he's there, he can see like how I'm responding to the work, and I can run the same times on 2 different days, but act so differently. Like if I'm lying on the floor or if I'm just like walking around after the rep, they're two completely different things. And I think, yeah, when I'm feeling good in sessions, that's when I know I'm in a good place.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And you mentioned face to face there. So, what's your current coaching situation? And is there an element of remote coaching?
No, not at all. So yeah, I've got the privilege to work with Gavin and Joe Pavey, who live like 20 minutes away from me. So yeah, we meet up for sessions twice a week. And yeah, I think I'm in a really good position to have that, because I think if I'd gone to uni somewhere else, I wouldn't have been able to be with them as much. And I think me personally, I benefit from yeah, having that those face to face sessions. And I definitely Gavin thinks it's very important, and some of the other athletes he coaches, he finds it difficult if they're not face to face. So yeah, I think that's really beneficial for me.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And how long is it that you've been with them now?
Um, I think 3 years almost exactly.
Wow.
On the schedule, he does a number on the top of each schedule, and I think it was 158 last week. So
Wow. Gosh, so yeah, I mean, it really isn't the longest time that you have been running, but you have progressed so quickly during that time. And I guess then to pull it back to the start, how did it all come about that you ended up training with them and everything, yeah, took off from there?
Yeah, I was actually chatting to Gav about how we met a couple of weeks ago, because it was a bit of a funny story. There was like a passing around of phone numbers between multiple people before we eventually met and had a chat, and then things went from there. And then I started going to the track once a week, and it was a bit of a strange game because my dad would have to come with me, and it would be like a 45-minute drive to get to the track, and he was never enthusiastic to do that. So at first it was a bit of a game trying to get him to come, but it's all paid off in the long run, and now it just seems second nature going to the track twice a week.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah, that's really interesting. And yeah, I think that definitely is a consideration. Tracks aren't everywhere, and it does require parents having to take their kids at a certain point, which can be a barrier and a challenge. And with that whole passing of phone numbers, then what was the kind of backstory to that?
Yeah, so I'd won the Southwest Schools cross country, and we were on the coach on the way back, and one of the team managers there was like, "Oh, you do you have a coach?" And I was like, "No." Thinking to myself, what even is a coach? Like, who has a coach? Not realizing that that's just normal. um, and then he asked Gavin if Gavin wouldn't mind passing his phone number on to someone, and it went to somebody at the local park run who then passed it on to me. And then I got a message from Gav, and then we arranged to meet at one of the local races that Joe was actually starting. It's like a local trail race near me, and we had a chat there. And I think at the time he didn't have any athletes at all. So I was literally the first one, and he was talking about getting back into coaching, but then wasn't really sure about it. So I think I kind of threw him in the deep end and forced him back into coaching.
Yeah, well, I mean, thank goodness it's all come about, because it seems to have worked very nicely. And at that point, I'm assuming, he probably had a bit of an inkling that there was something special here, or people in kind of had a bit of a know about that, maybe you weren't quite the average runner. Did you have any idea that that was the case at that time?
No, I don't think so, because I was like so uneducated on the whole running scene completely. I didn't know what a fast 5K time was. Like, I just rock up at park run occasionally, do a run there, and then I won the Southwest Schools, but that was kind of unexpected, and I don't think I really knew what that meant. Definitely, because a couple of weeks later I then came second at English schools, and I definitely wasn't expecting that, and I didn't really know what that meant either. I remember crossing the line and someone being like, "Oh, you've got an England vest," and I was kind of like, "What's that?" Like, I didn't really know what anything was happening. So I think it was just a whole learning experience, and it took me a long time. I was kind of thrown in at the deep end. Like, and I think people thought I knew what was going on, but I didn't know at all at the time. But I think that naivety was quite good, and it meant that I didn't feel as much pressure as I would have done. And it meant the experiences I had, I was much more relaxed going into them, which I think was really beneficial, especially as young athletes. Pressure can sometimes get to people quite a lot. So having the privilege just to go into races and be so relaxed, I think really benefited me.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's great to hear. And I think there is a lot of merit in keeping things kind of relaxed or not too serious at a younger age. And for you then, at what point did you start to kind of realize or maybe understand that what you were doing wasn't quite average, and maybe you had a bit more?
Yeah, I don't think there was a specific moment where it hit me. And I think it's kind of come over time of gradually being like, taking athletics more seriously. But as I said before, like, I don't want just running to be my whole personality. So even in other situations, like outside of running, when I'm not training and things, like, I don't I don't see myself as a runner around other people. Like, I'm just another student, another friend. And so I think it's only when I think about it in a running sense do I associate myself as being an athlete, and the rest of the time I just feel like I'm a normal person.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to be. And then I guess from that perspective, what is it that you're studying at uni, and what are the kind of things you get up to in your, regular person time?
Yeah, so I'm studying sport and exercise science, so still related to running. And yeah, so that's occupying most of my time at the moment. But I'm a very keen sailor as well. So in the summer I teach at the sea school, which takes up most of my summer, to be honest, if I'm not running. And yeah, I'm quite a creative person as well, so doing a bit of drawing and painting and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's really great to hear. And what is it about sailing then that kind of attracts you to that?
Yeah, well, I've always lived by the sea my whole life, and I can't imagine not, to be honest. And yeah, I grew up sailing with my parents, and we used to go on little trips in the summer, in the some small dinghies we had. So yeah, I've always been drawn to the water, and I really like teaching people, and that's something that definitely I want to continue to do in the future. And just yeah, so I find teaching sailing really rewarding. It's something I really enjoy, and I know that the kids who are doing it really enjoy it as well. So it's quite rewarding to see them progress and to know that yeah, I'm doing something I enjoy and they're benefiting from it too.
Oh, that's really lovely to hear. And yeah, it's great that you've got that element to your life. And yeah, definitely, I guess it adds something that it's quite a different experience and just helps to keep that kind of balance in things. And then I guess turning to kind of the uni side of things, then how have you found being a student and competing at the level that you're currently competing at?
Yeah, I think it's a balance. It it's trying to study and be an athlete is always going to be difficult. And there's going to be times when you have to sacrifice one or the other. I think coming to uni, I was kind of like, I want to kind of enjoy the uni experience. And I was very relaxed with my running in the first couple months because I just wanted to, I knew that the first couple months were crucial to make friends and gain experiences that you don't get any other time. So yeah, I think running took a bit of a backseat in the first in joining uni, but I think that's a good thing. And I've made so many friends and got so many life experiences that I wouldn't have done had I not been at uni. And I think, yeah, just now it's just about managing my time and having fun so I can fit in going out sometimes, going to the track and studying all at the same time. And it's just about, yeah, managing time and being really organized, which if I'm not organized, then I get stressed out anyway. So
Yeah. Well, that's good. I guess the two can go hand in hand. And is there any experience in particular where you've maybe sacrificed a bit of running to have that you're especially glad that you did?
I think it's just yeah, those first couple of weeks in freshers, like going out and thinking I didn't want to go out and be like, oh, well, I'm gonna have to train like the next day. I was kind of thinking, you know what, these couple of weeks you can go out and it's fine. You need to get these experiences and make friends and do stuff that all uni students do and not feel like there's pressure on you to be training the next day. Just chill out and have a good time and have fun. And I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes that kind of can be the pressure on athletes, especially ones competing at a high level, to just be completely locked in. But actually, everyone's a person and has as much right and should engage with kind of those opportunities that you do only get once and are so crucial for, like you say, making friends and getting those experiences. I guess for you then, firstly, since we last spoke, I suppose one of the big things is you defending that title at the European Cross Country Championships before Christmas. It sounds like that was something that you were pretty keen to do. Yep.
Yeah. Um, Definitely. After winning last year, there was quite a lot of pressure I felt on myself to yeah defend my title, and so yeah, I was very pleased when I came away with the win, and I think I put quite a lot of pressure on myself as well because I knew that there was expectation on me, but at the end of the day, I knew training had been in a good place, and I knew that the fitness was there. I just needed to go out and execute it. So yeah, to come away with the win was very rewarding, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine, getting a title is great, but defending a title is comes with the weight of the world in some respects, especially one that's so kind of public and when everyone's watching. And I'm just kind of curious to hear how it was balancing that ambition and the training for that alongside kind of those first few months of uni where you were also, engaging with uni and settling down because it's a massive change.
Yeah, I think actually going back to when I finished my GCSEs and then I moved for sixth form, and that was like a big change for me, and I didn't take that very well, I don't think. Like I didn't like the idea of moving, and the whole new environment I think was quite overwhelming. So but I think that actually gave me some quite good experience when I was coming to uni, because I knew what it was going to feel like. I knew it was going to feel horrible. I knew I'd hate it, but it was about kind of settling in and just letting those first like a few months go by, and actually I love it after a while. And I think yeah, for me that was good because I knew what it was going to feel like, and once I'd settled in at uni, I'm now really enjoying it. But to be honest, the first few months I didn't like it. But I think that was going to be the same whatever happened.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, because I didn't go too far away from home, I think that was quite good as well. Like my training setup was still the same. I could concentrate on like the goals I had, and I knew what the routine was, like going down to the track and meeting the people who I'd always met at the track. And I think having those constants there while everything else was changing was really important. And it meant that I didn't feel the move so overwhelming. And I could concentrate on, yeah, getting the training done to get ready for the European cross.
No, that's really great. And I think it's so important and great that you do have that self-awareness and you're able to make the right choice for you. And that's definitely paid off. And you've defended that title. And I guess then, moving on from that well, I guess firstly, the pressure with that maybe race in particular, how would you say you managed that? Because, it clearly worked.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I get nervous for races, but it's about balancing the nerves with the excitement as well, and not getting too nervous too far out. Like I don't want to be thinking about the race months in advance, like stressing over it. Just getting the things done and controlling the things I can control. Rather than getting too overwhelmed about how the race could pan out and too far in advance, because you can end up tiring yourself out thinking about it too much. And for me, the pressure I had definitely gave me an advantage in some ways, because it kind of was fueling me to get that title and take the win.
Yeah. Well, no, it's great that you were back and defending that title strongly. And I suppose then following on from that, you talk about having a bit of downtime kind of over the Christmas period and not necessarily expecting to have such a explosive indoor season following that. Can you talk us through what, downtime for you looked like?
Yeah, well, I knew I was going to go back home. I mean, it's not far from here, but yeah, I just didn't want to put any pressure like mentally. I just wanted to kind of switch off, just chill out on the sessions and just like, yeah, not feel like there was any pressure. And I think that was good because I was able to spend time with my family, who I don't, see that often, and just chill out, really relax. And I knew that there were some races I wanted to do in the new year, but because I didn't have any specific expectations, I didn't feel there was any pressure on me at all.
Yeah, that's really nice. So I guess it's always quite freeing to do something for the first time or do something a bit different because there's not, I guess, those past, I don't know, achievements or benchmarks that you can compare yourself to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's what's been so like good about going to the indoor season. Like as much as some people compare outdoor times to indoors, it's never the same, and you're never going to know how different athletes are going to respond. So for me, it was just like a bit of a clean slate. I could just go out there and do my best at the time, and yeah, it's been pretty incredible. But I wouldn't have been able to ride at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we move on to that, for you, what's a kind of go-to chill activity or something you do kind of when you're in your downtime?
I speak to my sister a lot, which is strange. But yes, if I've got a quiet evening at uni, I usually ring her up and just catch up with her, because I feel like we were quite close before I left, and then obviously our lives are completely different, so I find it really enjoyable to catch up with her. So yeah, I spend a lot of time chatting with her.
Oh, that's great to hear. I mean, yeah, sisters are the absolute best for sure. And it is yeah, it's quite different when you do move out or one of you moves out, and it is a whole kind of shift in the relationship there. Does she run at all?
No, not at all. Actually, I went for a jog with her a couple of weeks ago, but it was about, yeah, 10 minutes, and that was all she could manage. But got out, and that was the main thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. Okay, so let's talk about this European under 20 record by 10 seconds, British record by 16 seconds. I mean, you just chucked out Zola Budd from 40 plus years ago's record, 840, top five in the world, pretty incredible stuff. Talk us through how Ostrava came about.
Yeah, so my friend Scarlett was telling me that she was going to go to Cardiff to run in this indoor meet. It was a BMC. So I was like, oh, well, she's going. I can get a lift with her. I'll just go and run the 3K. I'd done one before Christmas and run like 9:04 or something.
Yeah,
I went out on a 64 first lap, so I completely overcooked it. So I knew there was something else there. So I was like, well, I'll go and I'll run the 3K and we'll see what happens. James Thee, who's running the meet, said, "Do you want a pacemaker?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. Well, if you're offering, I'm not gonna say no." So there was meant to be a female pacemaker, I think, but she couldn't make it. So I had a guy pacing me around in the end. And on the start line, he was like, "Oh, what pace do you want?" And I was kind of thinking, I think I said 71s. I don't know, but I was thinking in the back of my head, I was like, "This might be a bit quick. Like, what if I just asked for?" And then
what is
um,
71s as a kind of conversion for the 3000?
uh 8:52 and a half.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, yeah.
So I was thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, that's a bit quick, but we'll just go with it and see what happens. And yeah, I just literally just sat on the back of him and he just carried me around. And I managed to run 8:48 point something.
3.3.
8.3, there we
Yep.
go. um and I was shocked. I rang Gav up straight away and I was like, what the hell's just happened? And he was like, oh, he was pleased, but knew that was within me. So and then obviously I found out about how the European qualifying time was 8:48 flat. So I was like, right, well, I need to get another race in then. I've got to like give it another shot. I think because going into Cardiff, I was thinking, oh, well, sub 8:55 would be good. So I surprised myself there, definitely. And then, yeah, a couple of days after that, Gav rang me up and said, oh, I've got you into a race in Ostrava. And I was like, oh, okay, where's that? And then, yeah, and then I found out about that. And then I was very enthusiastic. I was like, yeah, well, we've got to go. And yeah, came away with 8:40 there, which was pretty crazy. But it was such a good atmosphere, and I think that definitely contributed to the fact that I ran so quick. The crowd definitely carried me around, and having I think it was Sige at the front or someone, I'm not quite sure who it was, but anyway, she was running like 8:20 something pace. So yeah, the crowd were definitely just like going a bit mental, and that definitely carried me around.
Yeah, gosh, no, that's great to hear. And yeah, a lot of things to unpack. But I guess firstly, when you asked for those 71s on the line, 8:52 and a half, like you said, and you ran the 8:48, pretty close. Inside of you, there must have been something that maybe deep down kind of knew that something more was going to come out. Was there anything you can kind of reflect upon that gave you that confidence or that maybe gut feeling there?
Yeah, I think quite often in training, I was like, oh, things are going well, like, but for like a bit of time, races hadn't kind of been reflecting my fitness in the same way. I didn't think. I think last summer I was capable of a bit more than what came out. So I was kind of just biding my time, waiting for a performance to kind of drop that was kind of more reflective of how I'd been in training. And that definitely was. And I think from there I gained a lot of confidence because I was worried that I'd go into races and overcook it too early, or because I've done that so many times. So I was almost a bit too cautious in some respects. So I think, yeah, running 8:48 definitely gave me confidence to be more bold and know that I am capable of big things if I
Yeah.
just get in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you proved that for sure. And when you say kind of last summer, maybe you didn't feel like the times you were running in races were necessarily reflecting what was there. Can you think of any reasons for kind of why that might have been and why sort of this season's been such a kind of jump forwards?
Yeah, I can't, not specifically, I'm not sure why things didn't quite work out. I think running's like that, it goes up and down. Last summer we were definitely concentrating on the Worlds in Peru, which was at the end of the summer, so it felt like all races were leading up to that. And then I would have liked to have raced a bit more after the champs, but by that time it was September and track season was over really. So yeah, I didn't get some of the times I might have liked, but I knew that the fitness was there, and whether I have the time on paper or not, if I know the fitness is there, it's only going to get better over time. So yeah, just proving to myself the beginning of this year that I was in that shape was confidence boost really.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I suppose then kind of with the Ostrava, or not the Ostrava, yeah, the I suppose then with the Ostrava situation, wanting to get that European time, how do you kind of keep a level head and stay relaxed going into that?
Yeah, I think before that meet I was actually very like more calm than usual because I was like, this is my like professional debut on like the European circuit. Like there's no pressure on me. I'm probably the youngest person in the race. It was just about going out there and having fun and just enjoying it and just see what I could run. I think coming off that race, I was on a bit of a high and kind of like a bit shocked in some ways and maybe slightly overwhelmed. For the couple of weeks after that, I kind of was like, I think had a bit of a post PB come down and like wasn't feeling as good. But yeah, it's just about getting back from that and keeping the training going to hopefully get better for the coming weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that definitely would have been quite a high. And how did you find it racing your first sort of professional circuit race with, a lot of kind of older women and professional athletes?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience and I really enjoyed it and everyone was so lovely. Sharing a room with an athlete who I had no idea who they were. They could barely speak English. It was definitely an experience in itself. But in terms of the race itself, it was just incredible. The atmosphere was great. All the athletes there were lovely, and yeah, I couldn't follow it in any way. And I look forward to hopefully doing another one at some point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think as well, I want to pick up on you say kind of maybe overcooking it a bit at the start sometimes in the past. And, you're quite well known for having that confident and fast, decisive kind of get out, get going at the start of a race. Do you want to talk us through that strategy and your thoughts around that?
Yeah, personally, I wouldn't say it was much of a strategy. I think I don't know whether it's due to the fact that I haven't had, in the grand scheme of things, much running experience as a youngster. In the first races I was doing, it was about just going out and trying to hang on and like see what I could do, see if I can break the field up as much as possible. But it's something I'm learning to control in some ways, and I think it was it's kind of shows like my mental determination in some respects. That I'm happy to put myself in a place where it's very painful, but I'm willing to do that. And I think with time and more experience, I'm learning how people go about racing, and that it's not always about who's can be the most dead at the end. It's about how you can play the game. And I think just from watching a lot of racing and racing a bit more myself, I'm beginning to learn about how tactics work and how best to go about situations. So yeah, in races now, if I'm at the front, I'm usually controlling it in a different way rather than just trying to run away from everyone else. So it's always funny because I was at the front of British Champs and on the commentary they're saying, "Oh, it's so common to see us at the front," and I was thinking, yeah, but I mean, I'm running differently than I used to, so
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely evident. And you can see there's kind of more maturity in you as an athlete. And yeah, there's so many factors and considerations. And you mentioned there kind of that mental determination, being willing and able to push yourself or put yourself in that hole. How hard do you push yourself and how hard can you push yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a difficult one. Some races you're able to do like push yourself harder than others. It's just about how you're feeling on the day. Sometimes I'm in a session and I just I just feel like I can't push myself at all and I'm just mentally not there. And that's the case in races as well. You just sometimes it just doesn't happen. But then in other races you feel really good and it's just you just keep going until you can't really. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you, what does feel good kind of mean, or how would you describe a day or a race where you feel good?
Yeah. I think for me it's about like relaxed and powerful running, like feeling like all the energy you're putting in is coming out and driving you forward. Sometimes I feel like I'm putting a lot of effort in and nothing's coming out, and that's the day when I don't feel good. Yeah, and usually if I'm feeling good, then I'm running well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The two are very much connected for sure. And then I suppose, indoor British champs, you took that third place spot, some absolute top tier kind of runners in that race, and including Laura Muir. Do you want to walk us through how you kind of approached that race and maybe some of your thoughts during it?
Yeah, I think going into the race, there was a bit of an aim to come top two because I had the time, and top
Yeah.
two meant automatic qualify for the Europeans. So that was definitely in the back of my mind. But also, it was the first British champs indoors, so I just wanted to go out there and have fun, really. Um, in terms of how the race went, I don't think I was expecting to be at the front so early on, but then that was a decision I made during the race. Um, I can't really think about I don't really remember how that decision came about in the race. Things just happen and you end up somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in an ideal world I wouldn't have led it for so long, but it just shows that I'm capable of front running and that's a confidence boost, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it worked out well. You got that selection, and like you say, you're off in that direction tomorrow. And by the time this comes out on Sunday, for anyone listening, this is Monday, the 3rd of March. What do you kind of want to say in advance of the European indoors?
Yeah, I think I'm just excited. I think there's not too much pressure on me and I just want to go out there and enjoy it really. I guess to get through the heats is the main thing. To get in that final, I think is somewhere I belong, and that's definitely one of the aims. And yeah, just go out there, have fun, and just gain some experience, and just talk to people. There's going to be so many incredible athletes there. I want to talk to the people on the British team and just like get some advice, get experience, and just learn from it because I know there's going to be so many more champs in the future, and if I can learn from this one, then I can only do better in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a great approach, and fingers crossed it all pans out for the best there. And you talk about sort of advice there. So, firstly, who is someone you look up to in running, or a running hero?
Yeah, I think the person who comes to mind straight away is obviously Jo Pavey because I'm chatting to her so often and having been to 5 Olympics, she's one of the most incredible people with the most a whole wealth of experience. So yeah, she's definitely the one I look up to the most.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's great. You've kind of got that direct kind of line with her. And my follow-up question to that was going to be what's the number one question that you'd like to ask that person? But I suppose you already know her, but maybe there's still something that you'd be happy to share.
Yeah, I think I don't have a question specifically, but just talking about experiences within races and just going away to champs. The more experience that other people have, then the more that I can learn from them. And I think I do still see myself as very much a youngster and very kind of naive in some situations. I don't want to go out there thinking that I know everything and I know how to go about situations because in championship environments, there's so much to learn. And even when you've been to multiple, there's still more to learn. So yeah, just talking to as many people as possible, just learning from what they have to say.
Yeah, you can never have too many perspectives and in life for sure. And for you then kind of moving on to some more general reflections, what's the most valuable thing you've kind of got from running?
I think in some ways I found myself.
Yeah.
I think running's a really good tool to use to kind of reflect on things. And when I run, I kind of like I'm in my own head, and that's for me very good. I think for some people they don't enjoy that, but um I think having some space and time for myself is really important, and running has enabled me to do that, which yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something a lot of people can relate to, myself included. And I think it is great to have that chance to just have that mental space. And you say there kind of enabled you to find yourself a bit more. Is there anything further around that in terms of maybe confidence or anything further?
Yeah, definitely confidence is definitely one thing. And kind of giving me an identity that I'm proud of, and something that I can prove to other people that I can do things. I think growing up at secondary school, definitely I felt that I didn't really fit in with everyone else. And having like to being able to do running to a quite high level has showed myself and almost proved to other people that I am I am somebody, and I'm not just a bit of an odd person. I might be odd, but I can do incredible things as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think so many people within running would say something similar along those lines. And it is great when you're able to be that role model or prove to people around you that, yeah, you can do something. And it kind of gives a bit more empowerment to other people who maybe aren't maybe fitting that exact social norm for secondary school or whatever in that respect. And is there something that you'd want to say to your younger self, maybe your year seven self or something like that?
I think just having the confidence not to feel like you have to be like everyone else. I think I spent quite a lot of time in year 7 and 8 feeling like I was trying to fit into a group of people who I didn't really relate to in the same way. And I think with running it's just enabled me to learn to be who I really am, rather than trying to fit into what other people think I should be like, or what I think I should be like to be fitting in with other people.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And what is the real Innes really like then?
I think who I am now, really. Just enjoying running and being out and about, doing things for myself and to help other people, rather than trying to fit in to be like other people or to be popular in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of pressure, I think, especially sometimes, or maybe not, but can be maybe perhaps more on girls, especially kind of going through the secondary school years. And are there any things in particular you ever felt pressure to be when you were younger?
Um, I think just the kind of the change from obviously primary school to secondary school was a big jump, and then I think everything you want to fit in with other people, and I think that happens whether whatever age, whatever kind of background you're from, you're gonna change in some ways, but also there's so much you don't need to change, which you feel like you should. And I think everyone will come to that realization at some point in their life, and it's just where they come to it. Like they'll be like, oh, why have I tried for so many years to do something I don't really want to do? And I think for me, that kind of came about when I started running. I kind of discovered who I really was.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear and such an important message that kind of needs voicing for sure. I mean, I'm in the workplace and people in their 30s, 40s, they're definitely much more in that position now. And they look back and, oh, why did we do all this when we're younger? But, I think sometimes having high levels of success allows you to reach that same realization just at a slightly accelerated rate, would you say is kind of fair?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then from a running perspective, what sort of one change you've made over the years that you think's been of the most benefit to your progress?
Or I'm not sure. um, I think just learning more and more about the running scene itself. Coming into the sport, I knew nothing about how the system works, and I think just over time, learning about that has definitely um, educated me on like how, yeah, what races are important, how to go about them, and then, yeah, in the future, knowing like which races need to be done. I think at the beginning when I started running, it was quite like, oh well, you just keep racing and that's how it works. But actually, you can go into a season and just do 3 races or something, and that can actually be more beneficial than running every weekend because that's not necessarily going to help.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It is a process of kind of learning and adapting and moving with how things go. And I guess as well, then in terms of sort of what motivates you and what you find the most enjoyment in, how's what you enjoy the most and what motivates you changed kind of through your running career so far?
Yeah, I think it's you can't deny that success is motivating.
Yeah.
I think when things are going well, you're always going to be motivated to keep going. And yeah, I guess that's what's kind of driven me in some respects. But also, I know that there's so much more to come, and I think even if things weren't going well, I have like a intrinsic motivation to see where I can end up. So I think that'll always be there, and I'll always be striving to see what could happen.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And for you, what's the biggest challenge that you've overcome so far been?
Yeah, I think it was at that time when I moved schools between GCSEs and A levels. That I found that period of time very difficult. Just the whole change. I don't deal with change that well. And I think yeah, being in a completely new environment, the only kind of constant was my running, which I think in some ways was a good thing. But also having the stress of like the completely new environment definitely took it out of me a little bit. So yeah, that's definitely was the biggest challenge I've had to overcome, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Change is definitely one of those things that can be really difficult to deal with, and it definitely throws people off a lot, in particular. But as you kind of mentioned earlier, it's great how those or that challenge kind of led you to then be able to or be in a better position to cope with and get the most out of the transition to uni later on. So that is quite nice to see in that respect. And in terms of your I guess running or running pedigree. For you, what do you think makes you a standout runner? What's your kind of speciality, would you say?
As much as I said before, mindset isn't the be all and end all. I think it's a mindset I have that I think puts me not an advantage, but um, gives me something above some other people. I think having that like intrinsic motivation and just that drive for success, I think is something that I would never take for granted. But I think I have maybe more than other people. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of those things you can never really know, but for sure, I think it does take a lot of drive to have that level of success. And speaking of success to you, what has been the moment or the race that has meant the most to you from that perspective?
I think probably that Ostrava race. Yeah, although I didn't officially qualify for the champs through that race, having run that time's definitely, I think, been the most successful point in my career so far.
Yeah, no, that's for sure very understandable. And then in terms of success itself, for you, how would you define success? What does success look like for you?
That's a tricky one. I think within running, there's so much pressure on like chasing times and things like that. Like people, you can keep chasing times for as long as you live, but I think medals at champs are so much more important. And I think, yeah, the for me to be successful, I always think, oh, well, have I medaled at the champs? Have I done as best I can? And I think they're definitely goals I have in the future. To be successful in the future, I think you have to medal at those major champs, because that's where it's at.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And what do you do with all the kind of metal that you've been collecting?
Oh, I think it's in a shoebox somewhere. I'm not one to display things in that way. But yeah, I do keep everything, and there are occasions where I look back on things, but always keep yourself humble and driving for more. I think is really important.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And I think maybe it could be part of what helps you to keep that identity kind of as more than just a runner. I don't know if you would agree.
Definitely. I think gloating over success is not necessarily going to get you anywhere. Just continuing to work hard and aim for bigger goals is really important, I think.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's great you've got that mentality. And let's close off with some quick fire fun questions. So for you, a lot of 3Ks have been dropped this season. What is your favorite distance?
I think I'm gonna have to say the 3. I'm a bit scared of the 5. I think it's just that anticipation of the pain. And the 1500, as much as I need to do a few more, it's still quite quick, and that's painful as well.
Yeah, so 3000s is your happy middle ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. How have you surprised yourself recently?
Just running quicker than I expected, I think. Proving to myself that I can do things that I put my mind to.
Yeah, no, I love that. And do you ever scare yourself with the kind of amazing times that you run?
I wouldn't say scare in that way, but it's definitely a surprise sometimes.
Yeah, a positive kind of
Yeah.
scare, let's say. Okay, favorite TV series or book?
Favorite book is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. If you know it, you'll know it. If you don't, then it's a very good book, and I definitely recommend it.
Awesome. Is there a main type of theme going on with that?
It's a bit of a kind of dystopian future kind of book. That's the kind of thing I like reading. It's a bit strange to some people, but I quite like that.
No, sounds cool. And yeah, for sure, pick up a copy of The Road at the local library, guys. And if you were to win the lottery tomorrow, what's the first thing you'd do?
I have no idea. I'd be completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I actually have no idea.
Well, unfortunately, the odds are it's probably never going to happen. So shouldn't be something.
For the best.
What is the number one thing you'd want people to take away from this episode?
I think if you're a young athlete, just to relax and enjoy and trust the process. Things will come if you just keep plugging away at the training. Be better than you were yesterday, and yeah, good things will come if you just keep going.
Absolutely. Good things come to those who wait and are patient. And actually, a final one. Is there anything you want to correct? A kind of misinformation or a conception people seem to have about you that's not quite true?
No, I don't think so. I think everything that people think about me is probably true. I try to be quite real.
Famous last words, but no, that's great to hear. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate your offer very early tomorrow morning. And yeah, absolutely the best of luck at the Europeans. It will be, yeah, great to see you storm it there.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, absolute pleasure. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. This really helps to get the content out there. And I want to make this podcast the best possible for you. So go follow Fitter, Faster, Happier on Instagram. That's Fitter, Faster, Happier to leave your questions, comments and feedback, and for updates and guest requests. All the best for the week ahead, guys. Run happy, live happy, be happy.